Y'all ready? Should we begin with a little meditation? When your mind is somewhat settled, bring your attention to your mental consciousness. Whatever appears in your mind, use it as a stepping stone, as a reason to infer the clear light nature of the mind. Let go of following any of the conceptual thoughts, let them dissipate. Focus instead on the non-obstructed, reflective quality that we call clarity of the mind. The body with which we sometimes identify, the self, is just an appearance to the mind. Even the various mental factors, the various states, anger, attachment, pride, self-deprecation, also depression, all of those are mere appearances to the mind. then this clarity, recognizing it as our conventional Buddha nature now, the wisdom that realizes it being quite rare, having a rebirth of leisure and endowment with which we can actually practice Dharma perfectly, eliminate our rough edges, develop our good qualities, so that we can find satisfaction for our own goal and for the goal of all others to become less harmful, less needy, actually beneficial. I think as I've meditated, motivated during this course, I'm going to do one final lesson this evening, finishing the Wheel of Sharp Weapons. In order to really put it into practice. To develop the conventional bodhicitta and the ultimate bodhicitta, the wisdom that realizes emptiness within the mind stream of a bodhisattva. However long it takes, I'll try to eliminate the dual demons of self-grasping and self-cherishing thought. For that purpose, I'm going to participate tonight in order to learn the stages of the mind training, Mahayana training of the mind, to practice the Bodhisattva's deeds, to quickly achieve enlightenment for the welfare of all sentient beings. And then bring your attention back. Did anyone get sick on Saturday after our day?
Sunday.
As a result of our day, yeah. Or Sunday, really, yeah. I had a very bad headache. Pat told me that he had very bad migraine yesterday. So I wondered if it was maybe some flu or something going on. I think more people would have had it if that was the case. Must have been the moon. So this is our last lesson on the Wheel of Sharp Weapons. And then a week from today we'll have our examination. And this coming Sunday we'll have practice day. Right? Is that right? Or did we just do it next week?
So is there a class next Monday?
We'll come here and have examination. So there's not lesson, but I think in Europe, what did they say, Venerable, do they say in Europe differently? And here in America, I seem to remember the teacher gives the examination and the student takes it. It seems like in India, some other places it's the other way around. Like you'll be giving the exam on next Monday?
You give the filled papers then.
Oh, you get the student gives the exam. Whereas I always grew up. Yeah.
Takes it.
That's yeah. It's interesting. Maybe that's just the whole point, just whether it's filled or not. Here we talk about the empty paper. The teacher gives the exam, the student takes it. In Europe, the student
Do it.
the student gives it, and the teacher takes it.
Yeah, and someone said about the practice days at 9:30 starting. Someone just told me to say.
Instead of 10.
Yeah, I mean that's what the Venerable forgot to send email out, I think, something like that. So. Okay, yeah.
Is the practice day, is it possible for someone who hasn't taken the course to come and do the practice day? Which I'm assuming is going to be a lot of sitting. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I think so, if they wanted. As long as they didn't ask a lot of, if they weren't so needy and had to ask a lot of questions. Uncle Phil or... Okay.
You had mentioned rereading, and in rereading, I have a question
Mhm.
to ask.
Mhm.
It's on verse 50, and
Mhm. Verse
under it
50.
says, close to the bottom of the page, that the description's given on, it says Yamantaka stands with his 2 feet apart, symbolizing the two truths. And just above it, it talks about the ultimate truth, the realization of emptiness. But I wasn't sure what conventional truth was.
Oh. So you've heard of ultimate truth,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not sure what conventional truth is. Isn't that interesting? Does anyone else have the same dilemma?
Symbolize the 2 types of bodhicitta, so the
Mhm.
feet were, I was like,
Mhm.
okay, what's the other foot?
Sometimes we say in the presentation of the various philosophical schools, we say the basis, sometimes we say, like for the highest schools, the basis is the two truths. So that which we're dealing with is conventional reality and ultimate reality. If anything exists, does it have to be either an ultimate truth or conventional truth? Isn't there something else? No? So all existence, if you made it the grand category, existent, or let's say, even something more grand that includes non-existence. The selfless, I guess, is what they say. The selfless, and that one way of saying, because whether something exists or not, or does not exist, whether something is an existent phenomena or is not an existent phenomena, it is still selfless. It is still empty of true existence. So you could say the greatest category that covers everything is the selfless. If you just said phenomena, if you just said existent, that wouldn't include non-existence, right? Which are objects of the mind. They're objects of thought, false, like this, the self of a person. So when we talk about phenomena in general, existence, we can talk about permanent and impermanent. We can say that all phenomena are either conventional truths or ultimate truths. You following? You there? You're thinking about that. Okay, conventional truth, the ultimate truth is the nature of each and every phenomena, its ultimate nature as being empty of existing the way that it appears to deluded mind, as somehow inherently existing from its own side. That appearance and its dependent arising, the arising of appearances due to our karma and due to collective karma, the dependent arising of the universe, has certain appearances to sentient beings that have a certain consistency, such as the law of cause and effect. Everything on that side is called conventional truth. Okay? Conventional truth.
How everything appears.
Conventional truths is dealing with the appearance of phenomena to ordinary beings, phenomena that appear to be truly existent, but are not. They still have a mode of existence that can be shown to be consistent. They can still be said to validly exist conventionally, according to the understanding of Lama Tsongkhapa. Lama Tsongkhapa, was the founder of the Gelugpa tradition, great being who was sort of cleared up some misunderstandings of other people, and even today there are some schools that have slightly different understanding than Lama Tsongkhapa's presentation. Lama Tsongkhapa had direct communication with Manjushri, and Manjushri said, conventional phenomena can be said to exist. They are conventional truths. They are truths for the ignorant mind, or for the covering mind, for the, what do we call it? Samvriti Satya. What do we call it? It's truth for a concealer, for a mind which conceals reality. There are various etymologies of conventional truth. Sometimes we just call it that word in Sanskrit conventional. Sometimes it means, when you say conventional truth, it means truth for a mind which is concealing reality. In other words, truth for ignorance. Or as Jeffrey Hopkins used to say, truth for a jerk. Do you remember that? Were you there? Truth for a jerk. Sounds like Queen for a day, doesn't it? Truth for a jerk. So, although these phenomena that we encounter are called conventional truths, they are not really truths from the point of view of highest philosophical view. For something to be a truth, what's the characteristic that has to be there, do you know? Venerable, do you know? For something to be true? Pardon? It has to function. So therefore, ultimate truths are not truths because they don't function.
Sorry, I thought you said conventional truth. Conventional truth has a function.
No, for truth in general, do you know, Venerable? For something to be a truth?
No, it's something that cannot be contradicted by valid consciousness.
Maybe that's... Well, just the word truth, satya. You've heard of Satya, no? There's a famous Indian saint, Satya Sai Baba. Satya, and the four truths. Satya means truth. We say Dempa in Tibetan. A truth is something whose mode of existence accords with its mode of appearance. Like I said the other day, what you see is what you get. Remember, we're talking about something that is true, something which is false, looks one way, but actually is another. This is from the philosophically talking about truths. So, ultimate truth, from the point of view of the highest philosophical school, is the only truth, real truth, because the way that phenomena appear to the wisdom that's realizing ultimate truth is how they exist. They appear to be empty of true existence, and they are empty of true existence. Conventional truths appear to our minds, ordinary minds, other than, let's say, when someone is not in a direct realization of emptiness, even if they're not a Buddha, but just assume when you're not in direct realization of emptiness, conventional truths appear as though they were truly existent, conventional phenomena. They appear to be inherently or truly existent. And that is not how they actually exist. So they're not really truths. They're called truths. Did you know that? They're not really truths for Chandrakirti, for Nagarjuna, for Buddha. They're called truths for the ignorant mind. You might say, like people that are living in what was it, the Matrix? What's it called? Is that
Zion?
Zion? That's being too technical. No, what is it called? All the people are walking down the streets who think they're having all the lives, regular lives, and actually they're encased down in the basement somewhere. That's just the Matrix, right? So, okay. So, for them, things appear to be true, but they're not, right? They're not really the way that they think. So that's a good example. Again, maybe we're like that. Maybe where are they? Wachowski brothers? Are they the ones that did that, or are they some? Maybe they had studied. The latest one has a little bit more. Doesn't have so much mind only. Doesn't have so much chittamatra involved in it. The latest version. So, all phenomena are either conventional truths or ultimate truths. And there is nothing which is not one of the two.
Depending on the observer then?
Yeah, no.
Well, let's say it doesn't necessarily depend upon, like say, ultimate truth. Does that depend upon the observer? Ultimate truth itself is an ultimate truth. Or emptiness is an ultimate truth. One can still think about that with a conventional mind, then that's not actually perceiving ultimate truth. So all of the things that we perceive, trees and houses and fences and rabbits and all the things, class, temple, all of these things are what are called conventional truths. They arise, as does emptiness, but they arise dependently. And some impermanent conventional truths arise in dependence on causes and conditions. Right? Because of outer causes and conditions, because of our karma, how they appear. So when we talk about the two truths, say to a Buddha's mind, the Buddha's mind perceives the ultimate nature of all phenomena continually. He is continually in meditative equipoise, perceiving the ultimate nature of phenomena. And he knows that, it said, at least in our tradition, it said that the phenomena don't have any inherent appearance to a Buddha's mind. Like if the Buddha were here, if the Buddha's mind is here, it's not like if the Buddha were here. The Buddha's mind that's perceiving this area, to his mind, these flowers, what we call flowers, don't appear as they do to us. It's not as though there is some inherent appearance of floweriness that everyone would see. The Buddha only knows that what we call flowers are here because of our karma, because of our collective karma and individual karma, what we perceive this dependent arising to be. So the Buddhas perceive conventionalities, or conventional truths, in dependence on sentient beings, knowing sentient beings' minds, having a clairvoyance into a sentient being's mind. Okay.
What does that mean then about the Buddha would see the impermanence of the flower, is that correct? The vision is a completely different, I mean, it's
Well, here we're talking about, you're just talking about you were asking about what are conventional truths. Yeah, conventional truths are the usual things we perceive are conventional truths, but we don't necessarily perceive them as conventional truths. We perceive them, actually, it's said that to actually perceive conventional truths as conventional truths, you have to have first realized emptiness. So when we talk about the six paramitas, the 6 perfections, sometimes we talk about the 10 perfections, the 10 bhumis. On each bhumi there's another perfection. The first 6 bhumis are the first 6 perfections. And the sixth bhumi is what? The perfection of what? Perfection of prajna. That's the wisdom that realizes emptiness. On the 10th bhumi, we have the wisdom of jnana, which is, in Tibetan we say yeshe, exalted wisdom, which is, in a sense, according to the teachings, is that bodhisattva has a deeper realization of conventional truths. It might sound backwards. It's not like conventional truths are easy, right? Come on. I knew that in kindergarten. I didn't know about ultimate truths. But we are perceiving conventionalities, but we do not perceive them as conventionalities. The way that phenomena actually exist as conventionalities, as conventional truths, is as mere imputations of the mind. Concepts or names that are imputed consistently to a basis by a mind. Those are, but so we don't perceive conventional truths as conventional truths. When we perceive conventional truths, they appear to us as if they were truly existent, and we grasp to them as if they were truly existent up until arhatship, or up until the 8th bhumi. And the 8th, 9th, and 10th bhumis, the bodhisattvas, also, like arhats, the phenomena still appear to be truly existent, but they no longer grasp. They've completely eliminated all grasping to true existence, but things still appear to be truly existent. That's one of the final obstructions to omniscience.
So Yamantaka's foot is on...
Pardon?
Yamantaka's one foot is in conventional truth and one foot is on ultimate truth. Is that... He's trying
to hedge his bets, I think. No, I'm joking. It's symbolizing. All of the, in the various tantric practices, the various postures and shapes and so forth are said to have various symbolic meaning, so that when one is meditating on that, one can sometimes revert to analyze that way. The arms, 16 legs, and so forth, all have meaning, some kind of symbolic meaning. Okay. So, how far did we get last time? Did we get up to 111? Oh, 101. Okay. Oh, good. We did that. So now, up till now, we've been talking about conventional bodhicitta. Okay, so conventional bodhicitta. What is conventional bodhicitta? It's as opposed to ultimate bodhicitta. Like conventional truth and ultimate truth, conventional bodhicitta is what we usually think of as when we talk about bodhicitta, or the generation of the mind of enlightenment. It's a special primary mind, which is accompanied by a aspiration to full enlightenment, and is preceded by the aspiration to free sentient beings from suffering by great compassion. So it's a primary mind that has that kind of aspiration. It's not simply the mind that wishes to be enlightened. That's only part of the meaning of bodhicitta, right? Otherwise, some people at the beginning, I want to be enlightened. I want to be the best one. I'm going to show the rest of them. That's not full definition of bodhicitta, right? Also, great compassion is not bodhicitta. Sometimes people think great compassion is bodhicitta, wishing other people to be free of suffering. But that's not the full meaning of bodhicitta either, right? What do you think? You think it's a good time to agree with the instructor on the day, the last class we were in. Given your druthers, you'd find. So, it's kind of a combination of two things. It's having been motivated by compassion, then seeing that the only way that you can really help sentient beings is to become perfect, to become enlightened, and having determined in your own mind, in meditation and so forth, verified to yourself that it is possible to eliminate the stains from the mind, to achieve enlightenment, motivated by compassion, you're seeing the necessity to become enlightened. Knowing that it's possible through your own meditative experience, then when you develop the aspiration based on that compassion, I must attain enlightenment for the welfare of sentient beings, that would be what's called conventional bodhicitta. So in a sense, conventional bodhicitta is dealing with the method side. Right? When we talk about, when we talk about method and wisdom, method, like one wing of a bird, deals with karma, bodhicitta, how we deal with appearances, how we deal with conventional appearances, the skillful ways that we deal with appearances. And wisdom, here we're talking about the wisdom of emptiness, not just the wisdom of impermanence or some other wisdom. Wisdom is how we deal with the ultimate truth. Method is dealing with conventional truths. Wisdom is dealing with ultimate truths. When we talk about the pair, method and wisdom. You've heard that terminology before, right? Method. Have you heard that before? Method and wisdom? So, from a Hinayana point of view, what's the method to achieve, to enter into the path? What's the motivation that's necessary? Renunciation, right? And that falls on the method side, I think. And also the practice of the 3 higher trainings, the practice of morality and concentration, I think, fall under method, how to deal with conventionalities. And the higher training of wisdom deals with emptiness, with ultimate truth. The bodhisattvas, they enter into their path through the method or the motivation of what? Conventional bodhicitta, spontaneous bodhicitta. And how do they practice then? What's their main modes of practice? 4 Noble Truths, or what do they do? The 6 perfections, right? And we say the last 4 perfections are included, included in the 6. So we can say also the 10 perfections on the 10 bhumis. So that's in a sense, you could say the first 5 are all method, the first 5 perfections, and the 6th is actually wisdom. They said that method is always, correct method is just not any method, like the method how to steal cars is not considered method, right? How to cheat on your income tax. You might say, oh, this book tells the method how to get rich quick or something like that. That's not considered method here when we talk about spiritual path. Method is the skillful use of this kind of conventional knowledge to deal with appearances, understanding karma, developing renunciation, developing, and even more profoundly than just developing renunciation with respect to appearances, developing a sense of compassion for sentient beings and the aspiration to achieve enlightenment for their sake. So up till now we've been talking about conventional bodhicitta, which was the mostly, we've been mentioning the 2 demons, right? The ego-grasping and self-cherishing thought. What is, of method and wisdom, so if we talk about method and wisdom, here in the Mahayana mind training, the method is conventional bodhicitta, and wisdom is ultimate bodhicitta, right? Ultimate bodhicitta, does that mean emptiness? Ultimate bodhicitta? What does it mean?
The wisdom realizing.
Even though it sounds like it's an object, ultimate bodhicitta, it's actually a subjective state. Do the arhats then that realize emptiness, do they have ultimate bodhicitta?
No, because ultimate bodhicitta is accompanied by the mind of bodhicitta, or it's...
It has to be held, it has to be within the continuum, the realization of emptiness within the continuum of someone whose mind stream is also developed, conventional bodhicitta. That realization is called ultimate bodhicitta, the wisdom of emptiness. So up till now, we have mentioned the object of ignorance and the object of self-cherishing thought. What's the object of ignorance, self-grasping ignorance? What does it grasp to? Pardon? Do you know, Sarah? The self, the conventional self, or the truly existent self? So it grasps to an imaginary phenomena that doesn't really exist. Those who are studying Lorig, we say that we can posit it as the conceived object of that. It's conceiving, that ignorance is conceiving that the conventional person is truly existent. And the wisdom that realizes emptiness within the Bodhisattva's continuum, let's say ultimate bodhicitta, is the antidote to that. By seeing it as actually empty, that can help to overcome that compulsive belief and assenting to that grasping to that. You can start to let go and actually eliminate that completely from the mind so that it no longer exists, that wrong grasping. And the self-cherishing thought is countered by bodhicitta, by conventional bodhicitta, let's say, on some level anyway. So by developing conventional bodhicitta, that helps to erode, by practicing conventional bodhicitta until it becomes spontaneous, that helps to erode the thought that considers oneself more precious than others. Okay? So now these last verses are talking about the ultimate bodhicitta and ultimate truth, emptiness and so forth. So verse 102. Then may all the beings in higher realms also deeply meditate on selflessness, just as I do. Do you? Cultivating the non-conceptual meditative absorption on the identity of existence and peace. May they recognize this identity. On the identity of existence and peace. What does that mean? So Elaine, you have to answer this one because you...
Are you picking on me tonight?
Wrong.
The identity.
Here, maybe say the equality. Here it says nyampa ni. In the text it says nyampa means equality. So often we find in the scriptures the equality of, have you heard, Venerable, the equality of samsara and nirvana? Here, identity means equality. I don't know if the word always means that. It might be misconstrued. Here, the word, what they're translating as identity, the identity of existence and peace, may they recognize this identity. That means may they recognize the equality within ultimate truth. Within the sphere of ultimate truth, there's no difference between samsara and nirvana. But within conventional truth, there's a big difference. Okay? Until if within the realization of emptiness, there's no phenomena that appear any different than anything else, than any other phenomena. So even samsara and nirvana are totally equal or identical. Here, that's what it means, identity. It's a little bit misleading. What do you think, grammatically? the word identity, the identity, it could mean something else. Like identifying something, or the identity of existence and peace. So, may all beings in higher realms, because it's virtually impossible for beings in the lower realms to meditate on emptiness. Or is it? Can any beings in the lower realms meditate on emptiness? Does anyone know? It's said that some pretas have sharp intelligence and can maybe meditate on some things. I don't think they can actually, maybe they can't enter into meditative absorption. But here, may all the beings in higher realms also deeply meditate on selflessness, just as I do. Cultivating the non-conceptual meditative absorption on the equality of existence and peace. So cultivating here means meditating, again and again, familiarizing with the non-conceptual. What does that mean, non-conceptual? Kind of like direct realization, right? Not via a mental image. Cultivating, familiarizing with the non-conceptual meditative absorption. That means a state in which just the mental consciousness is totally alert, has reached a very high state of concentration, and is not distracted by any other thoughts, on the identity of existence and peace. This is a very common pair that we find, these two words, existence and peace. Si. Sipa means like existence, or like sipe cordo. Do you know what that is, Venerable? Sipe cordo, like the wheel of existence. How else do we call it? The wheel of samsara. Sipa doesn't mean samsara. Usually the word for samsara is cyclic, like korwa. In Tibetan we say korwa, samsara. There's another word, bhava, that means existence or becoming. So when we talk, when we talk about the 12 links, there's a representation with the Lord of Death, huge mouth, and the 12 links are within his mouth. Almost looks like one of these bizarre dentist's calendars or something. He's got all these cavities, the six realms. And here's the hell. So that's called Sipe Korlo, Bhava Chakra, the wheel of existence. So we talk about the 6 realms and so forth, what we cycle around in. So it's kind of a synonym of samsara. So here, that's what existence means. That's kind of samsara. And peace is short for, remember on the weekend, Venerable mentioned, she answered what the 4 seals of Buddhist teaching are. That all compounded phenomena are impermanent, that all contaminated phenomena are suffering, that all phenomena are empty and selfless, and nirvana is peace. So peace means nirvana. So you could say, on the meditative absorption on the equality of samsara and nirvana. It's just like another way using synonyms for that. Otherwise, if one didn't know that, it might not make much sense. So what does that mean? That means the meditative absorption in which samsara and nirvana are identical or equal, they are of equal taste, let's say, within the sphere of emptiness. From within the meditative equipoise on emptiness, samsara and nirvana are not perceived differently. If you were to meditate first on samsara, the true existence, meditate on whether samsara has true existence, you would be meditating on emptiness. The same emptiness, the same taste, same experience as meditating on the emptiness of nirvana. Okay, so it's kind of saying, may all beings in higher realms cultivate the non-conceptual meditative absorption on emptiness, on the identity of existence and peace. May they recognize this equality. Okay, so this is the beginning of this section on emptiness. So it's sort of, because simply developing through the Mahayana mind training, simply developing only one side of the two bodhicittas, simply developing the conventional bodhicitta, one won't be able to eliminate self-grasping or true grasping. No way to escape from samsara with bodhicitta alone. No way to attain enlightenment. You might think, oh, they leave wisdom for the scholars or for those abhidharmists, those Thai monks that know all of those, huge formulas and everything. I'm just going to develop good heart and I'm going to attain enlightenment. Just developing good heart alone, there's no way to realize emptiness. You need to have, as Chandrakirti said, I think comes from the sutras, you need to, like a bird needs two wings to fly, to soar into space. You need to have both method and wisdom. You need to achieve the goal of emptiness, of enlightenment. You need the method of bodhicitta, conventional bodhicitta, and the wisdom of ultimate bodhicitta, the wisdom that realizes emptiness. So here we're praying that all sentient beings be able to meditate like that. Because otherwise they won't be able, even though they can get rid of the self-cherishing thought, many of these verses were beginning to put, to do tonglen, put the suffering on the self-cherishing thought, and different ways to overcome, to transform adverse conditions into the path on the conventional side by seeing it as the exhaustion of your negative karma, seeing it as your guru, developing compassion and so forth. Seeing it as impermanent also, although that's a kind of wisdom, that's not the wisdom that's meant here. In order to eliminate the real core, you have to realize emptiness. So 103 says, having done so, what does that mean? Having done what? Meditated on selflessness? I will crush the enemy. Having done so, I will crush conceptual construction. After cultivating selflessness through non-conceptual wisdom, how can I not obtain the causes and effects of the form body? That's patently clear, right? I had a teacher in college. His name was G.W. Clark, George Whipple Clark. A very, I think he was a well-known physicist, theoretical physicist, very brilliant. At school we used to call him G.W. God. George Whipple Clark. He used to write these long. There was a huge blackboard in our physics class. It was like there were like 200 or some students. So he'd write these equations all on this blackboard, and then in the next one about 4 big things, like 100 feet long, and then at the end, it's QED or something like that, intuitively obvious to the most casual observer. He was quite smart. So, G.W. God, or G.W. Buddha, having done so, having meditated on emptiness, in other words, and selflessness, I will crush the enemy. What enemy is referred to here? Self-cherishing thought, right? No. Self-grasping, right? The ignorance of self-grasping. That's the enemy, the main enemy, the ultimate enemy here. Having done so, I will crush conceptual construction. What does that mean? Crush conceptual construction. Dorje, do you know? You're good at this kind of thing.
Would that be like a projecting mind? I'm not sure.
What is it, the projecting mind?
Projects
Might be.
things that aren't.
Uh-huh. Here says namtok. Remember when we do our meditation, all of these different thoughts arise in the mind, the conceptualizing minds, and non-conceptual mind that's meditating on emptiness, none of these other thought patterns are going to be arising. One just sees emptiness by itself. after cultivating selflessness through non-conceptual wisdom, I mean, it's like a direct realization of emptiness. Is that something we can develop right now? Yeah? Can we have a direct realization of emptiness? What was it? Can we have a direct realization of emptiness right now?
That's possible.
I mean, well, it depends on who you are.
Well, what would have to precede a direct realization of emptiness?
Inferential cognition.
We'd have to have a conceptual understanding which was actually a realization, what we call inferential cognition. We'd have to understand it through some logic to actually get a correct mental image. We might have like certain kind of experiences and we think we've had an experience of emptiness, but usually the great meditators in Tibet and especially the Tibetan Lamas, they said this is pretty fanciful. One would, if one had a direct realization of emptiness, it would have been preceded for a long period of time by a correct intellectual, conceptual understanding of emptiness, which was very, very precise, upon which one meditated. And then that sort of veil, they could take away the veils of reality, and one could perceive it directly with one's mental consciousness. That's what's a non-conceptual realization. So right now, probably we don't have a non-conceptual realization. Who has a non-conceptual realization of emptiness? What level do you have to achieve on the path?
Separation?
An Arya. Finally, Don got one that Diana didn't get. Okay, this is great. I'm so proud of you, Don. Holding up the mail. Yeah, on the path of preparation, one still has a conceptual realization of emptiness.
That's the question.
And, oh no, non-conceptual, sorry. So we have to give her credit now, okay? She misunderstood the question. So,
You still got it right.
We'll discuss it
on the path of preparation, one develops a very special meditative equipoise on emptiness, but still on a mental image of emptiness on the path of preparation, right? It's a conceptual realization of emptiness. And on the path of seeing, when one becomes an Arya, that last veil that prevents you from seeing it with direct perception, seeing it non-conceptually, those veils are lifted and one perceives it non-conceptually. How can I not obtain the causes and effects of the form body? What are the causes of the form body? Does anyone know? I forgot. Is it Craig? No. Carl. That's close.
I'm not sure I know what form body is.
So in general, the Rupakaya, in general we can say the Buddha has two bodies. If we start to begin with, we can say two bodies, the Rupakaya and the Dharmakaya. Then sometimes just as the two bodies. Then sometimes we divide up the form body into the Nirmanakaya, the Rupakaya, we divide up into Nirmanakaya and Sambhogakaya. Have you heard of that? Like the emanation body and the enjoyment body? The Nirmanakaya is the kind of body like when Shakyamuni came from Tushita heaven, what he emanated on earth is called the emanation body. There are other kinds of examples of emanation bodies, master musician and things like this, master builder. But the Sambhogakaya only is a more subtle body that only appears in the two Arya Bodhisattvas and resides in its own Mahayana Pure Land, where it turns the wheel of Dharma continuously. There's a certain number of features that are always there in the Sambhogakaya. So basically, the Rupakaya, the form bodies of the Buddha, are achieved at the same time as the mind body, the wisdom body, or the Dharmakaya. The Rupakaya and the Dharmakaya. So does Hinayana Arhat develop Dharmakaya?
I think,
They realize emptiness directly? Is it?
I thought that they could attain Dharmakaya but not Rupakaya.
I see.
but maybe I'm wrong.
They developed the Dharmakaya, but
You
not the
just said they
Rupakaya.
have to happen simultaneously.
Yeah, so there was a little clue, yeah. So we never say that it's not just the realization of emptiness or of the arhats that's called Dharmakaya. Dharmakaya also has two kinds, one of which is the omniscient mind, you could say. One part of it is the wisdom Dharmakaya, and the other is the nature of that mind, the nature body, the Svavavikakaya. So here it says, may all, what did it say? How can I not obtain the causes and effects of the form body? What are the causes of the form body? Merit. That's the main cause that develops the accumulation of merit. You know, like we talk about the two collections. Have you heard of the two collections? Red Cross and United. No. What are the two collections? Do you know? Have you heard? Frank, do you know?
The two collections.
I just heard someone, it was echoing there in the back. Collection of merit
Right.
and collection of wisdom. So usually we think in order to achieve a higher state, you have to collect a lot of merit. For main reason is so the bodhisattvas can emanate when they achieve Buddhahood, their own pure land, and have emanation bodies that spontaneously appear to fulfill the wishes of others. So one accumulates merit for that purpose, and one accumulates wisdom. And how does one accumulate wisdom? It's not like the same way you do one, you sort of like you collect wisdom somehow. But by meditating on emptiness, one achieves the accumulation of wisdom. And it is that transforms our mind into the Dharmakaya. So our form body becomes the Rupakaya, our form becomes the form body due to merit, and our mind becomes the Dharmakaya due to collection of wisdom. So this is referring to a famous thing that if all of the causes and conditions are present, I think Dharmakirti said or something, if all of the causes and conditions are present, even if you didn't want something, it's going to happen. You know, even if you didn't want to achieve enlightenment, when all the causes there and conditions are present, there's nothing you can do. You know?
Just screaming.
So even if you don't want a cup of coffee, as it's just time for break and there's hot water, tea, and all the causes and conditions are ready, we're going to take a short break. No choice.
I was thinking about, let's say, some of the great Indian yogis who aren't Buddhists or Sufic, Sufi masters,
Right.
or even like mystic Christians like Jesus, even like Jesus. And
You don't even have to talk about Jesus. Other
Right.
great, yeah.
I mean, you sort of said this before about Jesus, that like those beings who are in different traditions, if they're at that stage of enlightenment, if they've had that experience of wisdom, direct experience of the wisdom of emptiness, but don't necessarily have the same language, don't necessarily call it the same thing, but they've had that experience. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the different ways of looking at it. If you were to talk about what is actually preserved in their teachings, really the only philosophical system that really preserves the understanding of emptiness is Buddhism. There's what is it called, Advaita philosophy in the Vedic tradition, which talks about non-duality, but it looks very similar. Sometimes some of the great Hindu masters of the middle centuries, they used to be criticized, the ones that were this non-dualistic school. They were criticized by others as being patsies for the Buddhist or something like that, or closet Buddhists or something like that. Because they believe there is a soul. Generally, the Vedic tradition, they believe there is a soul and a real, existence. So, if someone in previous lives had become familiar with these concepts, even if they don't remember them then, and they're a great being, they've developed the method side, put it on the right side, the method side, and they have great heart, great compassion for other beings, love and skill to be able to teach, and compassion to wish to teach and alleviate sentient being sufferings. They could teach according to what kind of knowledge. Either they're already Buddha or high realization, and they're manifesting some other way, or they have not realized emptiness directly, but they have some kind of imprint from previous lives' experiences. From a Buddhist Mahayana point of view, there's no way that you could achieve enlightenment without both bodhicitta, actual wish to attain enlightenment, which presupposes that you know such a thing, or you've analyzed that such a thing is possible, and the wisdom that realizes emptiness. Conventional bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta, there's no way that you could achieve enlightenment. So that's not to say that other great beings are totally useless, Jesus or Mother Teresa or great saints or Sufi masters, but they may be teaching more on the method side. Even a lot of Buddhist practitioners, although we might espouse these teachings, we haven't realized them yet. We might call ourselves Mahayanists, but we haven't actually developed bodhicitta. So it might be something, we might say, oh, this other person, they're not a Mahayanist, they're useless. Actually, they might have great, great qualities, much greater than our own. So it's dangerous to judge in that way. But from a philosophical point of view, if you were to debate about it, you would have to agree, if you were to investigate the Mahayana tenets, that without actually realizing emptiness, there'd be no way to eliminate the delusions from the mind, that one of the two demons in our mind is self-grasping. No way without realizing selflessness, emptiness. And there's no way that you could fully eradicate the self-cherishing thought until you developed bodhicitta. So you could that is, if you remember I said before, great compassion itself is not bodhicitta. Just by itself is not bodhicitta, right? With great compassion, desiring to achieve enlightenment for the welfare of others, motivated by that, aiming for enlightenment, that particular state of mind that has those mental factors accompanying it, is called bodhicitta. So without that particular state, wishing to achieve enlightenment and seeking out the causes and so forth, which are very difficult to achieve, there's no way to achieve it. So something to think about. Here, we were talking about how can I not obtain the causes and effects of the form body? So let me just read you what I think Geshe-la said here. There's I think maybe it's here that he quotes Dharmakirti. No, maybe another place. This is 103, right? Oh, it does. Okay, good. Where is it? In the middle. Okay. This verse says that if you meditate as previously described, then you will conquer the inner enemies of the view of a real personal identity and a self-cherishing attitude. The sage Dharmakirti says, it's a great logician, if all the causes of something are present, the result will be produced whether you desire it or not. The causes of Buddhahood are the two types of bodhicitta. Okay, you could say those are kind of causes. We would say the two collections are the the substantial causes of the two bodies. The collection of merit is the substantial cause of the form body. Without that, you can't achieve the form body. And the collection of wisdom is a substantial cause of the wisdom body, the Dharmakaya. And each of them act as a cooperative cause of the other. Just a collection of merit, you collect merit like mad, giving to the PTA and work for a Red Cross, whatever. I'm joking. And just that alone is not enough to achieve the form body. You also have collection of wisdom acts as a cooperative cause of that also. But the substantial cause, the substance that becomes the form body, is the collection of merit, which is achieved through conventional bodhicitta. Especially, that's here in the sutra system. In Tantra, maybe there's some other methods that can bring about the collection of merit very quickly, right? In Tantra. And the collection of wisdom is what brings about the ultimate bodhicitta is what brings about the collection of wisdom, which is the cause of the wisdom body. So thinking that cherishing others is the root of all good qualities and self-cherishing is the cause of all suffering, you slowly begin to develop the exchange of self and others and giving and taking, that is training in conventional bodhicitta. This is what is referred to as method. However, a bird can only soar high into the sky using 2 wings. 1 strong wing is not enough. Similarly, to fly to the highest level of perfect enlightenment, you must have the 2 wings of method and wisdom working together. Wisdom or method individually cannot accomplish the goal. Now we are looking at the component of wisdom, that particular aspect. First, understanding the objects of wisdom and then how to put it into practice. From here on, the text discusses the way to practice ultimate bodhicitta. Okay, how to meditate on emptiness. So verse 104 says, I love that translation. Now hear this. It sounds like the Navy or something. Now hear this. Now hear this. Everything is dependently co-arisen. Actually, you could say everything is dependent arising. All those, dedak tamche tendel yin, all those are dependent arisings. And our text, the way it has it, they said being dependently co-arisen, that means dependently arisen, they are not independent. One of the other Tibetan texts, here it says, anyone who's reading this in Tibetan, it says Tendel Tokpa in our text. Tokpa means realization. But in some of the other texts it says Tendel Tupa, La Tapta Ta, like L-T-O-S. La Tapta Ta Naruto Sa Tu. Tupa means rely. So you could also translate this, relying on dependent arising, there is no self-establishment, you might say. So what this means is, what is dependent arising? Dependent arising is sometimes called the king of reasonings. There are different levels of dependent arising. Do you know, one level, the simplest level of dependent arising is that all impermanent phenomena rely on causes and conditions. Sometimes in the Hinayana, what they mean. In the Buddha's teachings, he called it pratitya samudpada. Tibetan just says tendel. So we could say, here they translate it as dependent, co-arisen. You don't have to say co, dependently arisen, dependent arising. So on one level, that's the lowest meaning of dependent arising. Another level, more sophisticated level, is the meaning of dependent arising in the 12 links. I don't know. That independence on ignorance, karmic formations arise. Independence on karmic formations, the second link, there arises consciousness. That means imprints on the consciousness and so forth that are left there. So that's another meaning. The 12 links are called the 12 links of dependent origination or dependent arising. Same word. If you say dependent origination, it means the same thing. It's just a different way of translating, or dependent co-arising. There's not several different things. There's just one. Tendo, we call dependent arising, or you could call it dependent origination. So when we talk, what do you usually hear? The 12 links of? Yeah, usually, often you've seen it translated that way, but it's the same word, dependent arising. Then there's a more subtle level of dependent arising, that all phenomena arise in dependence on their parts. That's kind of like from it is true, and more talking about emptiness of true existence. But the subtlest meaning of dependent arising, do you know, Venerable, what the subtlest meaning is?
Well, dependent on imputation.
Yeah, dependent on three things. Any phenomena arises in dependence upon what?
Causes and conditions.
No, because
Rights and particles and the imputed mind.
something there. That's dependent not necessarily on causes and conditions, because some
No.
permanent phenomena are.
No,
You know, so they depend on three things. The basis of imputation, like say the parts of the Mercedes, of your Lexus, of Dorji's Mercedes, it's a golden Mercedes. The parts, the concept or name, and what's the third name? The mind that gives that concept, that imputes that concept or name. So in dependence upon those three, they kind of support one another. It's not that one of them exists without the other. In fact, if you analyze, you can't actually have names without a mind. They're like, if you have a tripod, if you ever take three sticks and without any string or anything, you can actually get them to support one another, right? Have you ever done that in Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts? Did you do that, Carl? Hopefully that was a previous life. Carl's previous life as a Girl Scout. So you can get 3 sticks. I won't do it here because I'll fail. When I taught Lama Osel, I tried to do the famous, I tried to start a fire by rubbing sticks together, and we never did it. I remember Lama Osel getting frustrated with it. He said, "What are you doing?" Something like that. I think I had wood that was too green or something like that. You have to have the right stuff. So the subtlest meaning of dependent origination or dependent arising is that all phenomena arise in dependence on three things: on their basis of imputation, which could be the parts, let's say, the basis of imputation, the imputation, which is conceptually or nominally imputed onto that, and the mind, which does the imputing. None of those arise independent of one another. If you actually analyze, it's quite interesting. You might think the basis exists and then the mind exists that gives the name, but actually all three of them take place simultaneously, like the three legs of a tripod that support one another. So that is said in the Prasangika to be the subtlest meaning of dependent arising. So now I hear this. She reminds me of that. When I was a kid, I remember, was it a call for Philip Morris? You remember that? There was something on that. Now hear this. It's not like on the Navy. Everything is dependently arisen. Relying on dependent arising, this is how I would translate it, independence on dependent arising, there is no self-establishment. Here said they are not independent. Rang suk means set up by itself. Like phenomena, the way that phenomena seem to be is like they have their own kind of existence from their own side. They're set up from their own side. That's one of the other synonyms of hypothetical synonyms of true existence. Say hypothetical synonyms because if two things are synonyms, they have to exist. And true existence and being set up from its own side or inherently existent, they don't actually exist, right? Why are you laughing?
It's good.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure. So in realizing, dependent arising, that all phenomena, the only mode that you can say phenomena exist is in dependence on parts, being perceived by a consciousness, and being labeled. The basis of imputation only comes about when you actually label it, but it seems like it exists before you label. So if you begin to understand, like say, Bonnie Baptist, I'm in dependence on her 5 aggregates, that's the basis of imputation. My consciousness imputes, or our consciousness imputes a name, Bonnie. Okay, so those are like the 3 legs. The basis of imputation, the imputation itself, conceptual and nominal, and you know, remember when we talked in Low Rig about nominal mental images, or what's the other kind? Meaning, generalities, right? And the mind, which is actually doing that imputation. That's how phenomena are said to exist. There's no other, you know, it seems like as soon as we say Bonnie, it seems like Bonnie is existing from her own side. But Bonnie, the mode of existence of Bonnie, the mode of existence of our own self, that if we check in our own mind, the way that the self actually is existing is much different than we think. It seems to be, if you look for a long period of time, sometimes it seems the self is the body. You know, if someone says, "Oh, you know, you're looking great," you know, Carrie, man, you're looking really, what's the word? Fat. Is that the word? P-H-A-T. Or buff. That's the word. Buff. You're looking at. I heard that's in San Francisco. They said that fat at a certain point. Maybe it's no longer used. Is it? You still use that? Man, that's fat. Some people. Okay. So that's fat. I was completely shocked when I heard this. Heard in India when some people came from San Francisco. I lost the point why I was saying Carrie's buff. Anyway. Oh, so it seems that phenomena are existing from their own side, but they are only conceptually, the only way that phenomena exist conventionally. This is what it's meant, conventional existence, when Karen was asking about conventional truths. The only way that Carrie could be said to exist is as a concept or name. In the Prajnaparamita Sutra, Buddha said, Bodhisattva is just a name. It doesn't mean that Bodhisattva is the name, but it's talking about these three things, that the phenomena arises in dependence upon a name being given. So in a sense, you can say, or is just a concept, a name or concept. It has to be given to it's not enough to say Bodhisattva, just say the name and Bodhisattva exists, right? You have to have a basis, and there has to be a consciousness perceiving that basis and labeling it. But there is no other phenomena existing from its own side. We think the world, is so solid and real, is really existing out there, whether we think about it or not. We just open our eyes and it's there. Due to our karmic appearances, due to the dependent arising of phenomena, this is talking about the dependent arising of the lowest level in cause and effect. Okay? The world is evolving around us. There's some causal plexus or nexus that's going on, and that appears to our deluded minds to have a particular appearance. To human beings, it has a particular appearance. To animals, it has slightly different appearance. To pretas, it looks different. Water looks to humans as water. It looks to pretas as perhaps pus and blood in some cases. To God, it appears to be ambrosia. So there's no existence from its own side of appearance. It depends on your karma. And when we perceive that set of parts, we think it's existing from its own side as soon as we label it. Flowers, we think flowers are existing from their own side. So in dependence on or relying upon dependent arising, one can understand there is no self-establishment, setting things up by themselves. Changing this way and that, they are false appearances and illusions. They are images that appear like a whirling firebrand. Changing this way and that way, pargyur surgyur, means going that way and this way, out and in. They are false appearances. So they're false in that they appear to be truly existent, but they are not. So this is now these verses 104 and on are talking about how to meditate on emptiness. One of the most skillful ways of meditating on emptiness is to, from the very beginning, rather than thinking emptiness means total non-existence, to recognize that there is a compatibility of conventional truth and ultimate truth. That phenomena do appear, that there is conventional suffering, even though it doesn't ultimately exist. And the law of cause and effect is infallible on the conventional level, but that in no way contradicts the ultimate nature of those phenomena as being empty. At the end, we meditate on the emptiness of the three spheres, right? The emptiness of the karmic seeds, the emptiness of the goal being dedicated to, the emptiness of the dedication. But still they function. So having that kind of understanding from the very beginning is very important to try to have a healthy understanding of emptiness, correct view of emptiness, so that one doesn't fall into some extreme thinking emptiness means phenomena don't exist at all. 105, like the plantain tree, life has no inner core. Actually, in Geshe-la's commentary, he says, he kind of says, like a reed. And the chushing, this word in Tibetan, chushing, literally means water tree. So you could say, like the reeds grow in the swamps. If you cut a reed, there's no core there, right? It's just like you can use it as a straw even, isn't it? So I think sometimes chushing doesn't always mean plantain tree, although the chushing sometimes means plantain tree. Plantain tree is the example that it could mean that, because if you try to find the core of the plantain tree, you take away the, what do you call it, like an avocado? Is that what it, you know what it?
No, it's artichoke.
Artichoke, not avocado, right, thank you.
Or banana.
Banana. You take away the things, and at the end there's nothing there in the plantain. It's not as though there is a core of the plantain tree. So it could mean plantain tree, or it could mean, as Geshe was seemingly in his commentary saying, it seems like it means reed. Like the plantain tree, life has no inner core. Life has no essence. Sok here means life energy. Like a bubble, a lifetime has no inner core. Say is another word for lifespan. So our lives, often in the meditation on death and impermanence, we say life is fragile, like a bubble, isn't it? It looks for a moment while it's floating up there, it seems so brilliant and stable, but with the smallest little contrary causes, it can disintegrate. I think it's talking like that lifespan instead of lifetime. Like a mist, it dissipates upon close examination. So, what is this talking about? It. Maybe life, yeah. Like mist, it dissipates, like mist which dissipates upon close examination. Like from a distance, we might think fog is like a big wall, but if you come in there, there's nothing, it's nothing that you can actually find. Or like clouds in the sky that seem to have some kind of very substantial existence, but when you actually get close to them, there's nothing actually there. Like a mirage, it is beautiful from afar. Like a reflection in a mirror, it seems as if it were really true. I think this is talking not just about those life and so forth, it's talking about all phenomena. Like a reflection in a mirror, they seem as if they were really true. when you see a reflection in a mirror, sometimes, of course, sometimes you know it's your own face, you know it's not true, but if sometimes you can see a reflection in a mirror. I saw Dorji's original, creative work on the video this week, and in the beginning of one session, the television was here, and he had focused on the television screen reflection of ourselves here, and I thought, how did he get the camera over from that side? He was looking, it was this side of my face. And I said, it was so great, what did he do? And then he panned back, and then I saw it was just an illusion. That I thought that was supposed to be, he was taking a class, but he was just kind of creatively, like how art people are, And then he showed the room, and it was just kind of clever, a nice way to phase into that. So sometimes we mistake reflection for something that we think is real. Like clouds and fog, it seems as if it were really stable. This is talking about all phenomena seem to have some, if you investigate, this is very difficult to do, although it's undeniably true that they seem to be truly existent, to actually identify the mode in which they are appearing as true existent is not so easy. In investigating the self, that's the hardest part, to identify the object of negation, to see how the self seems to be appearing from its own side, the mode. Sometimes the self, there's one kind of self that's not stable, not the subtlest sense of self that's identified with the body. Sometimes there's a sense of self identified with the mind. Like, for instance, before when I said Don got the question right, at that point, maybe Don's ego-grasping mind said, my mind's pretty sharp. So identifying the I might have, just for a moment, until you realized that Diana had misunderstood the question, so she actually had got it. She actually understood it right anyway. But after a long period of time, you can recognize that within the consciousness there is the appearance of a self which is not the body, not the mind, but somehow kind of mixed with them, that has the appearance of existing from its own side, this like rangsuk, that's set up by itself, inherently existent, naturally existent, truly existent. Just to use those words, though, the great meditators say is kind of like, what's the word they say? Sort of like, just mere words. You have to sort of really taste what that means, what the object of negation actually is here. 106. This butcher, the enemy, ego, is just the same. It seems as if it really exists, but it has never really existed. It seems as if it is really true, but it has never been really true anywhere. It seems as if it is vividly appearing, but it is beyond the realm of affirmation or denial. He says affirmation or denial. Drokur yule de. It is beyond objects of superimposition or denial. So the middle way is one in which, when we talk about the middle way, it's not just like not eating too much or eating too little, right? That's not the meaning of the middle way. The philosophical meaning of the middle way, when we talk about emptiness, is recognizing that phenomena are not totally non-existent. That would be the extreme of what? Of denial here, in this thing here. In this where it says affirmation or denial. If we say that doesn't exist at all, that's the meaning of emptiness. The other extreme would be one in which you accept too much existence there. You superimpose more than is actually there, or I think they're calling it affirmation, or you call it superimposition. That would be one in which you say things really exist. So the middle way is not like they kind of half exist. Like this is kind of like a little bit transparent. They're not totally non-existent. But the middle way is one in which the law of cause and effect is valid. Appearances do have a function, we can say that phenomena exist conventionally, but ultimately they can't be found in their bases the way that they appear to be found. Like, if we have cup, or let's say we have Venerable Angie. It seems that Venerable Angie can be found within her bases of imputation, her holy aggregates. I don't mean her robes, I mean her body and mind, right? Her 5 aggregates. So within the, it seems as though it can be found there, but it is actually empty of that. But still, Angie, we say conventionally, Angie does exist conventionally, because conventionally we can say, if we only analyze conventionally, we say, where's Angie? She's in Zambuling, in Jambu Dvipa, the southern continent. Where? She's in the United States. Where? California. Where? At Land of Medicine Buddha in SoCal. Where? In the Gompa. And then we come in and say, where? That's Angie. But then if we're not satisfied, yeah, thanks. That's good. There she is. That's, there you go. Now you know. Dorji very kindly showed you Angie. But then if you're not satisfied with that, and you say, what do you mean? Where's Angie? Is it the nose? Is it the eye? Is it those Scottish vocal cords? Is it the mind stream? We can't find Angie anywhere there. Although if we're a friend of Angie's or an enemy of Angie's or a stranger to Angie, if we perceive Angie, it seems she's existing from her own side. Okay? So here the butcher, the enemy, ego, is just the same. If the ego truly existed, if it existed from its own side, you wouldn't be able to eliminate it. So meditating on the emptiness of the ego, that not only the ego, but the delusions themselves that perceive, the ignorance that perceives the appearance of the ego, all of the negative things that we want to eliminate can be eliminated because they have, as their ultimate nature, emptiness. They don't have any solidity or any existence from their own side. They've arisen as dependent originations, dependent arisings, and they can, when the causes and conditions are eliminated, when there are no longer causes and conditions for them, they can disappear. What's the condition for our continued circling, and cyclic existence? What's the main condition? What is it? Ignorance that's grasping to true existence, right? Or grasping to the self. So when that's eliminated, when one starts to realize this, then one will no longer circle in cyclic existence. 107. And as for the wheel of actions, it is just the same. So even the conventional reality is the same. Though it lacks an inherent nature, yet it appears. So although it's not truly existent, although it's not inherently existent, still it appears, it functions, like the reflection of the moon in water. So this is a famous example the Buddha gave in the sutras. When the moon is reflected in a pool of water at night, it's almost getting full moon, isn't it? Maybe you see tonight if you go by, if you take a look, if there's a little pool of water, it's not as though the moon has to kind of consciously send its reflection down there, but it spontaneously appears in every pool of water, the reflection of the moon, right? And to those who perceive it, sometimes it looks like the moon is there. It looks like a real moon is in the water. It's a little bit like Narcissus. Was it Narcissus? I thought he saw this handsome guy in the pool. Oh, not Narcissus. Is that Narcissus? Yeah, Narcissus. So, although it appears to be real, like a reflection, the moon is given as an example because at night, I believe one of the reasons, at night, the moon is so bright, the reflection of the moon in a clear pool of water looks, with no ripples, looks very much like, you can say, what's the moon doing down there? Looks very, very clear. But it is actually empty of that. It appears, but is, and functions, but it doesn't exist the way that it appears. So if we know that, all of this drama that we experience, all of this appearance that we're experiencing now, all of this is like reflection in a lake. It looks real, so real that, can't, how could anyone deny it? But like the appearance of a moon in a lake, it lacks that kind of inherent existence that it appears as. Actions and their consequences, actions and their results, are a variegated multitude of falsehoods. Even though they are just appearances, I urge you to embrace virtue and avoid sin, avoid non-virtue, avoid negativity. So even though you might say, well, if everything's empty, why should I practice morality? What do you think, Venerable? No need, right? I'm just empty. Take it easy. Well, what's the point? Because even though sentient, like it says sometimes said, why do the bodhisattvas have compassion for sentient beings if they don't inherently exist? How could you have? There's no inherently existent suffering. Sentient beings are not really suffering. Dorji, you're not really suffering.
Thank you.
You're free. But you have to realize that. Until you realize that, there's still the experience of discomfort in the mind. That discomfort is not true. Even that discomfort in our mind, the suffering in our mind, if you meditate on emptiness, even when you have pain, that's appearing due to karma, but doesn't exist the way that it appears. It's like the appearance of a moon in a lake. So realizing that, meditating on emptiness in all of these different ways, and the Bodhisattva meditates in many other ways also, is the mode in which the Bodhisattvas progress on the 10 bhumis. Because on the first bhumi, they've realized emptiness directly. That's on the path of seeing. They become an Arya on the first bhumi. Did you know that? It's not the path of accumulation. It's on the path of seeing. So anyone who's on one of the Bodhisattva bhumis, Bodhisattva levels, has realized emptiness directly, and they are practicing more and more ways of applying emptiness to overcome all of the hindrances even on the method side, because understanding emptiness can overcome the sense of inadequacy. Oh, how can I, with my little abilities, how could I help sentient beings? And also, sentient beings are numberless. To work for them for numberless eons how could I do that? These kinds of senses of these lazinesses can be overcome by meditating on emptiness, seeing that all of those things that seem so inherent and impossible to achieve, when the causes and conditions, because they're empty, when the causes and conditions are brought about, phenomena can arise, and when the causes and conditions of negative things are eliminated, they can disappear. When in a dream peat fire blazes, we are terrified by heat. I don't know why it mentions peat fire. Maybe there's some classic story about dreaming of a big peat fire. Although it is without substance. So have you ever had nightmares? Chased by a big dog? Or my nightmare was going into the final exam and realizing I hadn't studied anything all year. Just I didn't study anything of this course. There's some nightmare I had. I don't know why I had some other nightmares. Must have been some reason. Pardon?
Read the wrong book.
Read the wrong book. Oh, this was the book we were supposed to be using. Right? In the same way, although the hell realms and such, that means the other realms of samsara, are without substance, we fear the smelter's fire and other tortures. So some of the different kinds of tortures in the hell realms. As that is so, we should forsake evil actions. So even though they are not truly existent, we fear these appearances. We don't want to be criticized. We don't want to be ignorant like animals. We don't want to be captured, our skins being used, our teeth being used for jewelry or something, and we don't want to suffer the privations of spirits. Those are just karmic appearances. They're not really truly existent. And someone who had realized emptiness, who was experiencing those visions, would not be upset by them. But until we do realize them, we have to practice the law of cause and effect. That is to say, guard the law of cause and effect. Causes means actions and their results. We have to try to avoid negative actions and to cultivate positive actions. In a feverish delirium, we may feel as if we are wandering around suffocating in a deep cave, even though there is no darkness at all. In the same way, even though ignorance and the like are without substance, we should get rid of our delusions through the three wisdoms. So is ignorance truly existent? No, it's not truly existent either. What is ignorance? It's a misdirected wisdom, when we talk about the ignorance of true existence, that is having perceived the conventional thing, let's say the conventional cup, or the conventional Frank, or the conventional, Dan, grasps at it as truly existent because as soon as we give the label Dan, it appears that Dan is existing from his own side both to our senses and to our conceptual consciousness. And our mind assents to that. Our mental consciousness believes in that, grasps to that. True existence, the appearance of true existence appears also to our senses. Even phenomena, forms appear to be truly existent, existing from their own side. Does the eye consciousness grasp to that? Good answer. I don't know. Why ask me? The eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body consciousnesses do not actually do the grasping, but they do what appears to them appears to be truly existent from the Prasangika point of view because of familiarization over numberless lifetimes. Only to the Buddha's senses do phenomena not appear to be truly existent. Even the bodhisattvas, the arhats who meditate on emptiness, in meditative equipoise, there's no appearance of conventional truths. Nothing exists, nothing appears. Everything is of the same taste of emptiness. When they arise from that, and conventional phenomena appear to their senses again, and also to their mental consciousness, it appears as though all of these phenomena, even though they don't believe it if they've had a direct realization of emptiness, the phenomena still appear to be truly existent, but they recognize them as like illusions. It's called the illusion-like meditation on emptiness. Usually we divide the meditation periods on emptiness into two parts. The space-like meditation on emptiness, when only thing that appears is the appearance of emptiness itself, like space, a non-affirming negation. Space is merely the absence of any obstruction, any obstructing contact. So that's the example, that's why it's called space-like meditation, because only a negative phenomena appears to the mind. Just a lack of true existence. There's no true existence that's appearing, that it's not as though you're seeing something that appears to be truly existent and kind of thinking, it doesn't exist, I see its emptiness. No, it's when you see the emptiness, only emptiness is appearing. The conventional phenomena is no longer appearing, right? That's called space-like meditation on emptiness. By the force of that, when you arise from that meditative equipoise and conventional phenomena again appear, until the level of Buddhahood, they still appear, even to arhats, as truly existent. But the meditator who's realized emptiness realizes it doesn't. That would be the case. It doesn't. It looks like it's truly existent, but it isn't. And phenomena begin to take on kind of a rainbow or illusion-like quality. That's called the illusion-like meditation on emptiness in post-meditation. So that is also a meditation, but it's not necessarily meditative equipoise, direct realization of emptiness. It's still called meditation on emptiness. 110. When a musician plays a melody on a lute, the sound lacks inherent nature. If we analyze it, it lacks inherent nature. If we analyze it, you mean it lacks? It sounds like he's saying If we don't analyze it, it has inherent nature. But when the sweet sounds emerge, their unanalyzed aggregate eases the anguish of people's hearts. So here, talking about giving different kinds of examples of objects to be meditated on in terms of their non-true existence. For instance, if someone says words to you, oh, you're dumb, I hate you, you messed up, you're a jerk. Sometimes we're hurt, as though the words have some real power. Like the music of a lute, if you investigate, where is the beauty? Let's say, where's the beauty of the music of the lute, or the music of Beethoven or Mozart, or Kurt Cobain or whatever, I don't know, whatever things are, because you consider, what is it, Buckethead? Bjork. No, that's Brian's, isn't it?
Brian is Buckethead.
Brian is Buckethead fan. Bjork. Where is the beauty of Bjork's music? If you analyze, once analyzed, you can't find any truly existent beauty, although it does function to soothe the mind. So phenomena do have some kind of efficacy within cyclic existence, conventional phenomena, but if analyzed, if you're seeking, if you're believing there's a real beauty there, if you search for it, you cannot find it. Also, you can't find the offensive nature. Where is the offense? In the word you, or are, or jerk? Where's the offense? You can't find it. Or in jerk. You can't find the offense anywhere, although it arises when put in the right order. If you said it backwards, if you heard a tape of it backwards, it wouldn't offend you so much, right? Someone talking backwards, like the special effects, 111. When we analyze all causes and effects, they lack inherent nature as either identical or different. Yet phenomena vividly appear to arise and perish, and we experience pleasure and suffering as if they really existed. Even though they are just appearances, I urge you to embrace virtue and avoid sin. So this is the same refrain that came in verse 107, maybe some others. Oh, I'm sorry, I just want to skip back to 109, where it says we should get rid of the delusions through the three wisdoms. What are the three wisdoms?
Innate wisdom, the wisdom of hearing and analyzing, and the wisdom of meditation.
That's 4.
No, but hearing and analyzing are together.
Oh, I see. Is that, say that there?
No.
Oh, this is your... No, I don't know if I said that. Usually we talk about the three wisdoms. We talk about the wisdom of hearing, the wisdom of contemplation, and the wisdom arisen from hearing, wisdom arisen from contemplation, and the wisdom arisen from meditation.
So what about that innate wisdom?
That is a wisdom that has come about because of those. For instance, by cultivating them in previous lifetimes, we will have some imprint of, just like Beethoven, or Mozart, having some prodigy-like quality to be able to do something from youth because of having done that in previous lifetimes.
So innate wisdom actually comes from previous lifetimes. It's not really innate in the way that we would think. If you had a single life and you say the word innate, it has
Yeah,
connotations.
right. It seems like here we could say we could call it innate, or arisen together with you at the time of birth. That which arises, the wisdom that arises in your mind, it's not as that everyone has the same wisdom. Otherwise, everyone should either have the same wisdom, or how would you explain that they have different wisdoms? What we call innate wisdom, that hasn't been developed in this lifetime through hearing or contemplation or wisdom, this lifetime has been generated in previous lifetimes through cultivating those qualities. Let me just briefly go through the rest of these, and then on I'll just mention a little bit of it on Sunday, I guess, not Saturday, of our last class. But let's just, for the sake of completion here, go through these. When drops of water fill a jar, the first drop does not fill it, nor the last, nor each drop individually. Yet dependently arisen aggregates fill the jar. So that's to meditate in all of these different ways. You can't find the jar having been filled by any one drop. It was like the combination, dependently arising. Also, when the act of dedication, where was it? The first moment was the dedication, or the second moment, or the third moment? It's only those moments in succession, in the proper way, arising dependently upon one another, that we can label and can function the act of dedication, something similar to that. 113. Similarly, when someone experiences their reward of pleasure, the result of pleasure or pain, it is due neither to the first moment of the causes, nor the last moment, and so on. Yet the dependently arisen aggregate makes us experience pleasure or pain. Even though they are just appearances, I urge you to embrace virtue and avoid sin. The same thing with actions. Any particular action, it's not one moment that you created the karma. You think, just when I dropped that coin in the poor man's hand, the bag lady's hand, that's when I created the merit. No, it's all of the moments, motivating, moving your hand out. You can't find any one moment that was the act of charity. Aha. What is this one? The appearance that delights our mind through, though independent when unanalyzed, definitely lacks an inner core. However, the fact that phenomena appear as if they exist is profound and difficult for the dull-witted. The dull-witted, like us. Okay. Emma. This is like Emma Ho, right? Emma. Aha. Emma. Oh, wow. The appearance that delights our mind, though independent when unanalyzed. That is, it appears to be, when unanalyzed, it appears to be independent. The appearances that delight our mind, beautiful appearances, they definitely lack an inner core. However, the fact that phenomena appear as if they exist is profound and difficult for the dull-witted to understand. They appear to be truly existent because of our familiarity with grasping to that from beginningless time, it's said. So even a 10th level bodhisattva, the moments before emptiness, before enlightenment, when they're recognizing conventional phenomena, they still appear to that 10th level bodhisattva, the highest of non-Buddha states, still appear to be truly existent. They still appear to their consciousness as appearing from their own side. Now, when you are absorbed in meditative equipoise on this, what is there really to a mere appearance? How can either existence or non-existence exist? How can anyone anywhere assert it is or it is not? So the two extremes of existence and non-existence are both lacking of true existence. You might say, coffee doesn't exist here. That's not truly existent. If it were truly existent, coffee could never exist here. You couldn't get coffee here. You might say, this is vegetarian. There's no meat here. Something like that, right? It depends on existence, and not only is existence not inherently existent, but also non-existence is also not inherently existent, not truly existent, the state of non-existence. I'm poor, I don't have any qualities. That also is not truly existent. If one grasps to it, thinking, oh, I'm poor me, I can't practice, I'm dumb, no one loves me, 116. Subject and object lack ultimate reality. If your mind remains in its innate nature, uncontrived and shining, free from all discrimination and conceptual proliferation, you will become a great being. Subject and object. So here another way of meditating on the emptiness of the subject and object duality. There is no ultimate distinction between subject and object. And finally, 17, thus by practicing the conventional and ultimate bodhicittas, and thereby uninterruptedly carrying the two accumulations of merit and wisdom, right, through to completion, may I perfectly realize the two aims. What are the two aims?
Others' aims and one's own?
When we talk about two aims, we talk about often in the sadhanas it says the light radiates out and accomplishes the two aims. Means the aim of others and one's own aim. So in that case, say for instance in the simple sadhanas, when light radiates out and purifies sentient beings and they are eliminated, they are guided and led to enlightenment, that's fulfilling the aim of others. When light radiates out and makes offerings to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, that is for, in a sense, for one's own aim, in a certain sense. But it's not that the Buddhas need that, right? They don't need that. But when we talk about the two aims, the two bodies, the Rupakaya and the Dharmakaya, one of them is achieved for the aim of others, is the culmination of the aim of others. One is the culmination of one's own aim. Which is which?
I wasn't here to answer my question, so.
Pardon?
I wasn't here earlier to answer questions, so.
Okay, so, yeah, no, that's good. Go ahead.
The body is for others and the mind is for.
The Rupakaya is the culmination of the aim of others, right? And the Dharmakaya, even though you might think, because that state that's free of all delusions, totally blissful, totally omniscient, that's the culmination of one's own aim. Of course, they help one another. They're not independent of one another. So let's dedicate the merits. We finished the course somehow. I don't know how we finished. Lama Zopa really asked us to do this course. It's amazing that we were able to, I'm joking, that we were able to finish this 117 verses. And let's try to dedicate the merits and especially think for the practice day and the examination. Practice day this coming Sunday. And the examination to finish off this study. I think due to these merits, may I quickly achieve the two collections. May all sentient beings, as Nagarjuna prayed, achieve the two collections that are the cause of the two bodies. In other words, may sentient beings finish their collection of merit, the accumulation of merit, and the accumulation of wisdom, accumulation of merit for the welfare of others, the aim of others, bringing about the Rupakaya, the two form bodies, and the accumulation of wisdom that brings about the Dharmakaya, the wisdom Dharmakaya and the nature Dharmakaya. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Dedicate our merit that all sentient beings, even our enemies, achieve, due to our merits, be able to achieve those two collections that bring about the enlightened state. And then seal that, having meditated conceptually on the conventional level, seal that within the emptiness of the three spheres. The merits that I'm dedicating, the karmic seeds, arose from actions that took place over various instants. That efficacy of those actions can't be found, although it seems to have some potency, can't be found anywhere. The goal dedicated to, also merely imputed by the mind. It can't be found from its own side. And the act of dedication, the moments of the so-called conventional self, aspiring that these merits ripen in that way. The succession of moments like drops of water filling a vessel. There's no one moment that we can identify the dedication on, merely imputed to those collection of parts.